What's up, guys? I'm Jinx. Recently, I sat down with a few black professionals in the film and television industry to talk about issues regarding race in Hollywood and beyond. During our chat, we spoke about recurring themes, what contributes to some of these problems, and some potential ways to mitigate these issues. Hope you all join us as we break down this topic over the course of the next few days. Stay tuned to Complex for our 5-part discussion. What's up, guys? It's Jinx with Complex, and right now we're hanging out in Los Angeles with a couple OGs from the film and television industry to discuss diversity, specifically the roles of blacks in Hollywood. So, you guys just introduce yourselves.
Hey, Tracy Twinkie Byrd, casting director, producer.
Debra Martin Chase, film and television producer. I'm an executive producer of Zoe Ever After, which is on BET right now.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Hi, Devon Shepard, writer, producer, doing Legends of Chamberlain Heights at Comedy Central, coming June 7th. Check us out.
Awesome.
I guess with such full inspirations as to why you all wanted to participate in this industry, what were your expectations when you first got your first early steps into it?
I had been a lawyer at major corporations, major law firms. There were a few partners of color or senior executives at that time. So I just assumed when I got here that Hollywood would be on a par. And instead, really, it was like 10, 15 years behind the business, the regular business community. I really did go through when I walked in the room, it was like, are you the secretary? You must be the secretary. There had never really been anybody who looked like me that was a producer. You know, in hindsight, you have perspective, but I realized, like, when I look at my white male counterparts that started the same time I did, they started from the perspective of, okay, how am I gonna make money? How am I gonna get my, and I started here with, okay, I need to let people know that somebody who looks like me can do what they, as good or not better of a job at what they do, producing movies or being an executive.
Right. Wow.
I do this thing where every show I go on, and I work on a lot of predominantly white shows, Weeds and whatever, I always ask people, how tall do they think I am? And without doubt, they always say 6 feet or 6'1". I'm 5'9". I was talking to my business manager one time, and I said, when I walk into a room, I feel like people think, I get this reaction. He goes, well, you're intimidating. And I go, walking in, I'm intimidating? He goes, you're a big guy. You're scary. And I'm like, well, how tall? That's where it started. I said, how tall do you think I am? He said, you got to be about 6 feet, 6'1". And I was like, dude, I'm 5'9".
Yeah.
So I just started doing that every room that I went into, just as a test, just to see where people's heads at. And without fail, to this day, I just did it last season, and a guy his fool thought I was 6'2", and I'm like, dude, I'm 5'9". And you should see the reaction when I go, I'm 5'9". They feel like idiots.
Yeah, how tall?
But there's just this narrative of, African Americans, whether it's a female or male, either you're the secretary, you're the help, or you're just this thug or this intimidating figure, before we even get in the room good.
Yeah.
They've already sort of labeled us and determined who we were or who we are. And so I don't think much of that has, quite honestly, has changed in 2016. I think they're a little more judicious in how they say it. Yes. But it's there. It's definitely there.
It's interesting hearing individual stories and how some of them are almost spot on to mine, and also like how I can identify with all of them. And I'm coming up in we'd like to believe is a different era, but as we can see now, even having this discussion, that a lot of things are still orbiting our world. They're still involved in what we're dealing with. I was going to ask you all how things have evolved over time, but it seems like a lot of things have stayed the same. What are some noticeable changes you guys have felt like have happened in the industry that have been positive for blacks in Hollywood?
There have been a lot of changes. I mean, we still have a long way to go, but particularly on the television side, it's clear that a few years ago, like 2, 3, television discovered that diversity was good business.
All of a sudden,
right. And it was, there was pressure leading up to that, but between, Scandal and Murder and Blackish, and then
like Fresh Off the Boat is a good
but Empire really took it over the top because its most successful debut in like over a decade. And so leading up to that, people were concerned that, oh, if you had a black lead in a show, if you had a black female lead in a show, the white audiences weren't going to tune in. And what they found out was not only was that not true, but that you were going to get everybody to tune in. Look at the Emmys last year.
Yeah.
Or this past Emmys, you know, 4 actresses nominated, Viola wins, Regina wins.
Yes.
That, you know, even just a few years prior to that would never have happened. So there have been changes, but obviously there, you know, we still have a long way to go. And the film business is a different animal than television, and so it's evolving in different ways, which in some ways make it more difficult, in some ways make it a little easier. But it's like it's our society in general.
It is.
We have a black president, and yet, you know, black men are still being killed in the streets daily. So we've made great advances, but we still have a long way to go in general.
I think there's a lot of good changes in terms of, I think I'm starting to see more, to your point, more leading roles going to people of color, of all colors. Where it's not changing as much as I would like it is behind the scenes, in terms of the creative process, in terms of writers. I've gone in rooms where, and this happened to me often enough, where someone would say, hey, if I have a black character, we'll think about hiring
Wow.
you. And they used, in the early 90s, they used to say that to your face. You know, now they have a more of a coded way of saying it. And the interesting thing too, to your point of now we're high, like we go through these ebbs and flows in television. Like I remember when I came in when we were hot. You know, we came off the 70s where we did, you know, the Jeffersons and all that, right? And then we kind of disappeared.
Right.
And then it kind of came back with Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with the hip hop culture.
And the UPN.
And the UPNs and all of that. So then we were hot
right.
then. And then once they kind of get like, you know, once you build the networks up and get them their audience and the viewership up, then it begins to suddenly they have to switch narratives. And now, you know, like the CW, you can't even recognize it. You remember that used to be the UPN.
UPN
CW.
slowed down.
You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
it did.
You know, and so, and then what happens is you get, I think it's, once you get an oversaturation of one thing or the other, the audience taste will change. So once you get all black everything, people go, well, where do white people at? Then you get all white shows, and people go, well, where do black people at? And so it's just a constant cyclical sort of thing that we go through. The great thing though was when Empire hit, it didn't just hit, it continued to climb every week, which was, no show was doing it. In this particular time with all these platforms and the pies being spliced down to almost nothing, that was kind of unheard of in that time, and this show just kept going up and up and up and up. I think it finally hit a ceiling earlier this year, but even in the dip, it wasn't that big. It's still a hit show compared to what it is. So that's the thing that really sort of kicked the door open, because I think we were in a place economically in television where nothing was quite working. Again, they threw it on, like, and they always throw on black shows like this. Well, we'll just put the black show on and see what it does. You know, they don't really believe it and wrap their arms around it. So Empire hit, and then it just kept hitting, and then all of a sudden everybody like, wait a second, wait, what black folks are hot? Hold on a second.
I feel like the marketing was actually, it was more intense after the show was already on the air than it was even leading up to it.
Again, because they saw the numbers.
They
saw them numbers.
knew they had a hit, and it's like you keep building.
Keep building
so
on that.
You figure with the audience tuning into diversity and liking what they see in a show like Empire taking off, what do you think it is? I mean, there has to be studies out and work done that would say, hey, this is advantageous to our company. How does the whole industry miss that until it just happens?
I don't think there are studies. I mean, that's the thing. I don't, you know, I think people, by and large in this business, people operate out of fear, executives. They don't want to lose their job.
Fear-based.
So if when they make a decision, it's like, if they can say, well, look, you know what, that worked. So this decision makes sense. I can defend it in the face of failure. So it's very, for somebody to jump out and do something that's completely different and risks their job effectively takes a lot of guts. And the other thing that I keep saying and people, I don't think, really take enough note of. Right now, the heads of drama at ABC, NBC, and Fox are black. And they've been in place for a while. And so they're a strong voice at the decision-making table. That makes a huge difference. You don't have that in the film industry.
Right.
So they're, in terms of helping to push people outside of their comfort zone in making decisions, they're there, front and center, to help. And that's, I think it's made a huge difference.
I look at I guess you said, the narrative that follows us, and I think sometimes of the roles that the actors are situated in. Okay. And especially like in casting or show running or even producing, it's like, what does that feel like when you get the call for the actor that is inherently black?
What does that mean?
Well, when they say, for instance, oh, we're looking for this role, and they define the actor, and it's the guy's playing the same stereotypical role, whether it's like a thug,
But I think, listen, on our side, and, I mean, you too, for sure, but I know I got into this business, one of my main objectives was to break down the stereotypes, was to create roles that changed the narrative, and along the way to open up casting. Look, if it's a great role and it's written black, fantastic.
Right.
But the question is also, what about that great role that can be cast black or Asian or Indian? And part of the problem is, Twinkie is there to say, guys, open up your eyes, look at it this way. You're writing scripts, you can write. But a lot of times there's nobody in the room that says, have you, because if a role is on paper that is not ethnically defined, it is by default white.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It is. It is by default. It is. It is.
So if there's nobody in the process who says, well, you know what, but Michael B. Jordan could do that. Doesn't happen.
It's really interesting that when I'm sitting with folks that are maybe not in this business, family members or friends, it doesn't hit them the point of view that the story is being told in when it's not a writer of color. The point of view, I'm like, well, you're watching her point of view, so then you don't get any backstory on that black actor that's the sidekick. You don't know if he has a wife, if he has children, where he went to school, but you know all about this one particular actress or actor. Caucasian actress or actor, but you know nothing about them. And it's important to shift the point of view as well so that we can have a full, well-rounded, you can see a life and a lifestyle and feel for it's not just, oh, well, it's the black sidekick. You want to feel for this person, because the more we feel, the more, the fewer times you'll get pulled over with a gun pulled out. The more we feel, there'll be less. Our image is incredibly important.
Giving black actors more opportunity, but also the ability to have depth in these roles and to, fleshed out characters. How do you all think that affects the perception of us at large?
It's everything. It's everything. Fruitvale, I'll tell you this, when I read the script and started doing my research and found out, about his mom and the research, and I'm reading the script, and I'm like, I had worked with Ryan Coogler in a USC thesis, and his thesis short. So I know how he has a way of making. The thesis short was about a young lady who aged out of foster care and became a prostitute on Figueroa. Now, how do you make that, turn that into a feeling? Because he had to switch it, he had to flip it to make you feel for her. And that's the same thing that he did when you see Oscar Grant being played by Michael B. Jordan. You felt for him. He had to add the dog because, that's a universal love of an animal. Or, show the love of a child, his child. There were a lot of different ways and a lot of different points of view that he used to tug at your heartstrings and to bring you into this story in a different way than you've ever been brought in before. And it was so subliminally done and so beautifully done that by the time you were finished, you realized that you just fell in love with the same kid on the block that you judge every day.
Walk around.
Yes, or that you clutch your purse from when you're getting in an elevator, that same messenger, bike messenger, or what have you. Now you have just started bawling and crying because his life was cut short.
Well,
and that is what I'm talking about.
It's the ability to make us human.
Yes.
I mean, for a very long time, we've been props.
Yes.
We've been caricatures. We haven't been real. Even now, I think with the explosion of video games and that sort of thing, we had just become things and not real. So when someone shoots a black person down in the street, no one sees the humanity in that. They just see him as a thing that was shot down the street. If you look at Michael Brown, how he, the officer described him, he was a hulking figure, a monster.
And he charged.
And he charged
like an animal.
Animals
charged.
Yeah, and so what that did was it took the humanity off that kid and put this label of a monster on him. So when you start talking about, you know, empathy and for this thing, you don't feel it because he's been labeled as a monster.
Right.
So.
And it's with stereotypes in general. I mean, you know, right now the Muslim community, as you know, they are only portrayed by and large in both, you know, the media and in movies and television as terrorists. And that's not right.
No,
and,
it isn't.
And to the extent that they're not, you know, there's so few contrary, accessible images in the media, it feeds the frenzy of hatred in this country and around the world. So the media, you know, I just as a producer know, I take it as a big responsibility, the images that I put on screen and the messages, because they're so influential.
In your roles, do you feel like, you know, there's actors who have said, I don't feel like I'm necessarily a black actor, I'm an actor who's black. And some actors say, no, I'm a black actor. How would you all define yourselves? Would you say you're a black showrunner or a showrunner that happens to be black? Or
I'm a showrunner that happens to be black, because black being the first thing out your mouth limits me, immediately limits me. So if you just see me as a showrunner, you see me for my skill set, you see me for my creativity. You see me as a valuable asset to a production. When I'm a black showrunner, it's almost like I'm a problem. You know what I mean? So and it's not that I'm not proud to be black or African American or whatever. It's just I don't want that to be the thing that is limiting me coming up. Because once you say I'm a black showrunner, then you give me black projects. You know what I'm saying? The reason I got on Weeds and all this other stuff, because my agent and I decided moving forward that I would be just a writer. And we wouldn't, no one, you know, to best of our ability, they wouldn't know who I was when I walked in the room. And it was funny when I walked on the, oh shit, you're black, we didn't know. Like, it's funny to see the reactions sometimes. And, but you know, my work spoke for itself. And that's what we all want. We want to just be judged in this business just from our skill set. That's it. Nobody wants to just be a black this or Latino that, or people just want to work and participate in the creativity of this business. No one wants to be labeled anything, because then it kind of puts you in a box. It's like, oh, well, you're a black producer, so let me only give you black things. I'm pretty sure in your life, you experience a gamut of things in your life that you would love to produce and to, you know, to express. So
I made a very concerted effort. I was one of the executive producers on Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, which was
dope.
So hard because we were thinking.
It was dope though.
So
Brandy
hard
and Whitney.
because we were doing what had not been done before in terms of the casting. And after that, and at that point in my career, I would get everything that was African American, particularly African American female. And so I went on a crusade with the agencies, with my agency, William Morris at the time, and I said, look, I want the same stuff you send to white boys. Like, why are you sending me why are you only sending me African American? Well, we thought, you thought what? You thought that I would not be interested in anything else? So out of that campaign and Cinderella, I got the manuscript for Princess Diaries. Mainly because nobody else wanted it. I mean, everybody's like, it's female,
it worked out.
it's soft. And so, and I remember when we had screened, the movie was done, we were screening it for the press, and there was a woman, reporter from the Washington Post. And she said, we were in a group, and she said, wow, she said, you know, this movie's about a European princess. Did you ever think about changing the movie? The story. And I looked at her, I said, I don't understand your question. And she said, well, you know.
No.
Come on,
bring it.
And I just said, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Why would I have changed it?
Right.
And just next, you know. And so it was just like that just to push through. To your point, it's like, no, this is what I have many stories.
Many.
You know, I'm black, I'm a woman, I travel,
Yes,
I
you do.
have friends of all
Yes,
kinds,
yes.
and I want to be like everybody else, be able to be an artist.
Yeah.
That's it right there. I think that's what I was trying. She said it much better than I ever could say.
Yeah.
But no, it's just we just want to be artists. Artists just want to be artists. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you're from.
Artist.
You just want to be an artist.
I'm
You want to
artist,
just express your work.
But I'm black.
But if I say you're a black artist, well then you're limiting
No,
me to what I can
I'm
create.
infinite and black.
Yeah.
I am infinite
So,
and black. I am infinity and black. So for me, I switch your perception with the work. So you can limit me if that's your choice, but I did
Right.
Philly Brown. And I sat in front of all of those people on a panel with Edward James Olmos and Michael Olmos and Gina Rodriguez, and I got the question. And they said to me, well, so you're a black casting director and you cast an all Latino film. How do you do that? I said,
Like your eyes don't work.
Here's what it is.
Talent is talent.
I said, you know what? That's an awesome question. And I appreciate you and thank you so much, because the elephant was in the room.
Yeah.
So let's get rid of it.
Let's talk about
Shall we? Here we go.
Yeah.
I said, you know what they wanted? They wanted a great cast. And I cast greatly. That is it.
Boom.
Boom.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Done. So I
Yeah.
can shift your perception like I did in music video, where I ended up doing all Blink-182 and 9 Inch Nails, and after a while I walked into the room and they were just like, well, your resume speaks for itself, so let's rock. And that is what I will continue to do in film, because I've had black producers say to me, well, we want you to cast the black people, and then we're going to get a white casting director to cast the white people. This was a black female said this to me. And I said, are you only producing the black people? And she said, well, no. I said, okay, then. If I cast this, I do the whole project or I do nothing.
The more steps Hollywood takes towards being diverse and portraying an image that's beneficial to all who are watching, what are the results of that outside of Hollywood for the audience? How does that affect us as viewers?
Well, I spoke at a class at USC right before the holidays, and it was a predominantly white class. And they were asking questions at the end, and there was a young white woman in the front row, and she said, you know, I just realized you're like a real-life Olivia Pope. And I said, but it was a compliment, and it's like, and that's who she knew. She knew Olivia Pope.
Yes.
I was like that, you know, it was, and it was just that's what it's about.
That's what it's about.
A positive
Exactly.
frame of reference.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, it wasn't like, ooh, I've never met anybody like
Right.
you before in my life. Or,
Right,
you know,
Or
which
that you
we-
so articulate.
Right.
Yeah.
You know how to speak.
You know how to
Right.
speak real good.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a huge opportunity. I mean, listen, I love being Mary Jane.
Oh, yes.
Because she's, you know, she's fabulous,
Yes, she is.
and she's beautiful, and she's successful. She has like real problems that
Yes.
people can relate to, and real issues. And I think there's nobody else like her on television.
Right.
So it's a huge, and my own show, Zoe.
Yes.
I mean, it's about juggling balls and
Yes.
trying to, you know, figure out, you know, who you are.
Right.
Just, when we talk about it, we talk about it's Mary Tyler Moore meets Sex
Right.
in the City.
Right.
Not it's I don't know what, because
Right.
there's
There's
really
no-
nothing
Yeah.
else.
No other
you know?
template. There's nothing else.
So to me, that's the opportunity and the responsibility of being in this business today. Is just continuing to create interesting, vibrant images.
In what ways are we detrimental to ourselves in the film industry
boy.
and television industry?
In what ways are we detrimental?
Yeah, do you feel like at times, whether it be maybe refusal to take on another role from an actor standpoint, or perhaps writing a script that perpetuates certain stereotypes? You know, I'm not saying you all specifically, but the roles
seen
that
that
blacks
too.
have in the issues that we face.
I'll take that, because I just went through a situation where I was looking for African American writers for this animated series I was doing, right? And the writers would come in, it's almost like, God, I hate to say this, but I'm just gonna be real. It's like when we walk in a room sometimes, we see,
Yes.
we treat each other like we're the substitute
Yes.
teacher. You know what I mean? Like,
Say that.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Say that.
it's a brother, and then they kind of
Yes.
relax.
Yes.
And I
And
have
the
people
slouch
come in
comes.
and they
It's like the slouch comes.
And the
All of a
slouch
sudden you're
comes.
sitting up and then,
And it's like, you know, I had people come in and weren't prepared.
yes.
That's so.
And so, you know, and it pissed me off because I'm like, this is an opportunity.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I have this saying that I always say, sometimes we look at each other through the eyes of the slave master.
Yes.
And so what white people see about us, we have learned to see the same thing about ourselves.
Correct.
And that has to change too. And that comes with education, that comes with history. We were talking about Nat
Yes.
Turner earlier. That comes with knowing your history, knowing yourself. And once they pull those things out of the school and they don't teach those things, and now you got single mothers or dysfunctional families who aren't educated as well, they're not teaching at home,
Right.
you start to have this lost generation who don't know themselves and don't know the history of who they are and what
Right.
the struggles have been before them. And so, you know, I took it upon myself to really start mentoring people and pulling people aside and talking to them about just opportunity. You want to write a script, write the script, but don't just write the thing that's, I call it the low-hanging fruit. Like,
yes.
challenge yourself.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Challenge yourself.
Good point.
Because, you know, we can sit here, for example, Empire is hot. I know this for a fact because I'm going through pilot season. You got to see how many damn pictures it is. Empire in the hospital,
Right.
Empire at the DMV. You know, and
Exactly.
it's like,
Right.
you know, I'm being honest.
It's
And it's
true.
like
It's
we're
true.
hot right now. So I'm going, well, where's our black Game of Thrones? Where's our
Right,
black
right.
Breaking Bad or
Right.
black Mad Men or a Latino Man? Whatever.
Right,
Where are
right.
those shows? Who are pitching those things? And so you got to get people to see themselves outside of the box as well. We still see ourselves sort of in this box sometimes, and we can't get out of it. And I think to me, that's the most important thing. We can't break out of just these monolithic stories that we're telling if we're not willing to push ourselves outside the box.
Agreed.
There is a thing where if black isn't this one thing, then it's not black.
Yes.
Yeah.
And black, we're not monolithic. We're multi-layer, we're multi-dimensional. We have all different perspectives, different experiences, and we should ourselves be willing in our own community to support those different ideas and perspectives.
Well, how
And
about we stop giving Sweet 16 cars and give Sweet 16 passports?
there you go.
Because we need to
It's
travel.
funny that you said, like what I do with my kids
Get
now,
out of this
every
country.
Christmas, we don't spend Christmas at home. I let them pick a place where we go.
Yes.
And we go and we travel. We just got back from Cuba.
Yeah.
You know, I take them,
Love it.
we spin the globe and go, where do you want to go this year? And they pick where we want to go. And it's opened them up, because you're seeing the world.
see more.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You're not stuck in this box, in this
Yes.
neighborhood. My dad used to say, the world's bigger than this neighborhood. You know, to
Well,
your
that's
point.
also
Yes, to
the
your point,
reality
yeah.
of the world today. Clearly, is it's a global community. It's a
Absolutely.
global business community. It's a global media market. You know, I mean, it's so funny. What 2 years ago, the international box office started being reporting. You know, along with the
Yes.
domestic box office.
Yes.
It's just we have to see ourselves as world citizens, not
Yes.
citizens
Right.
of a hood or
Right,
a community.
right.
There you go, right
Right.
there.
And for me, the other thing that's holding us back in this industry in particular is that this is a very competitive business. We are used to being super competitive with each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't support each other. We don't share information. We don't share advice. We don't share
Right.
experience.
Yep.
And other groups do.
Yes.
Yes.
And that is how they survive.
Yes.
They pick each other up.
Agreed.
They help each other get a job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, historically in this business, you don't have a job, somebody's got their foot on your head
Yes.
because they think, oh, that's more opportunity for me.
Right.
And we have to stop thinking like
We
that.
have to. We have to.
let
I
this
was
be quiet.
raised with my father's favorite song to sing in church. If I can help somebody as I travel on my way, then my living shall not be in vain. And that is how he raised us in our household. And I have come against more obstacles with my own people than I have because I am giving and loving, and I have come from a place of abundance and not from a place of lack. And you know what? Thankfully, I am sitting here because I attracted people in my life and in my career that come from abundance and not from a place of lack.
Say that.
And that's what we really need to work on, go within and come from a place of abundance. We have it already.
Yeah.
You just need to turn your head to see it.
And reach out your hand.
Yes.
And
We're
hold
here.
hands and let's walk together
Yep.
as opposed to trying to stab people in the back.
Agreed.
There just has to be a certain level of trust in each other. You know, you go back from, you know, slavery times to where they separated the slaves and, you know, blacks in the fields, whites in the house. They did all of these divisive tactics
Yes.
to kind of separate us, and they're still in place today.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's just, like I said, there's just a distrust
There
amongst
is.
ourselves. So when you walk in a room and you see her, you're like, oh, she's a sister. I don't really
Right.
have. It's almost
Right.
like I really don't have to try.
Right.
And
You
you're
said
like,
the
no,
substitute
I'm
teacher
still.
thing.
Yes. Yes.
I'm still Twinkie
You
Byrd.
gotta
I
bring
need you
it.
to do this audition.
You've gotta bring it.
You got to bring it, or you don't
That's
get the
right.
job.
Or you don't
You
get
know
the
what I'm saying?
job.
Same thing with you. I'm pretty sure you've gone with it. It's just this.
We've been in the room together.
But you know, and they look, like I said, like a substitute teacher. Like I don't have to put forth any real effort because I got a brother or a sister
Yes.
in the room. And it's like, no, we're here because we have a work ethic and a
Yes.
belief system. And if you want to get this job, you need to come bring it.
That's
You know,
right.
you need to bring it off. Somebody, I'll get someone else. Stories and all of those things as a reflection of how you see yourself. So I think it has to start there. I think there has to be a shared idea and community of people locking their arms together and going, let's help each other. Let's help build this. To me, constantly asking for something, whining about something is not a solution. It's not going to get it done.
No.
This is a show me town in a way. So you show them something and it's successful, they will come. The other thing is, yes, we need more people in prominent positions.
Right.
On the board of
Yes.
at the Academy Awards.
Yep.
Executives in the suites making decisions, whether it be film or television, casting, creating, directing, camera work, whatever
Yes.
it is. We need people in all those
Yes. positions.
And then, again, I go back to, I'll say something that's not, I feel like, you know, like with the Image Awards, I think there's an opportunity there for us to really validate ourselves. And I think we need to look at that and really support that, really get behind that. And if no one celebrates us, damn it, we celebrate ourselves. And I
Yes,
believe
agreed.
once the world see how we see ourselves
Yes.
and see how we respect ourselves, then I think they will fall in line to some degree and begin to see us slightly different. We have to be in charge of our own narrative. We have to be in
We
charge of
do.
our own image.
And-
How many conversations have you all had about race out in the open with people that are, with the powers that be?
Me personally, all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Because I feel like a large part of what takes place, at least from the audience standpoint, is we want to know, are people fighting for these things? And what's that? And what is that like? What are you putting at stake? You know, your career, how you put food on your table.
I'll just say for me, A is how you have the conversation. too.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
you walking in there, you know, kicking chairs over and shit. Like no one's gonna listen to that rhetoric, no matter how right you may be. But
Yeah.
you go in and you just try to the best of your ability to have an intelligent, logical, non-emotional as much as you can,
Right.
conversation just about what's needed. I've said it just past on this show. We're going our second season, and I felt like our room was getting less diverse, and I said, I need more diversity. I need more women. That was been my biggest thing from last season. I need more women. And I've been ringing that bell for the last 4 months, and I've got me a couple of good women now. But I had to go in there because there's an attitude, right, that women aren't funny. Whenever anybody says that to me, I go watch Bridesmaids and tell me that's
Oh,
not
my
funny.
goodness.
Yeah.
It's one of the best movies in the last 10 years, in my opinion.
Can't breathe.
That's my joint. And I always say a man couldn't have written that movie. As funny as you think men are, the subtleties and the nuances of that movie had to come from a female.
We already agree that the Oscars are not the problem,
Right.
right? Maybe it's the wound that everybody can see and everyone's galvanizing around, because
Right.
also it's something that just takes, it's only an evening.
Yes.
So you can get
Right.
upset for an evening. But what do you think everyone watching America should focus on when they're trying to find a solution for this problem? Where should we start first? Is it the execs? Is it the creators? Is it the actors? Is it the type of stories that we're telling? What are your thoughts on, I don't even know how to say it, I guess preordained numbers of black involvement?
Writing staff on a TV show,
Like if someone says,
how
"We
many
need to have
movies per
X amount
year
of
are
these."
written and produced and directed by blacks, and who's going to enforce it?
Right. That's what we really need. Checks and
Well, it's like, let's say
Can I say it's hell? I'm gonna tell you it's hell. I'm gonna tell you, being I was a writer's trainee, and when I started, And there's a stigmatism that come with that.
Yeah.
When you are there because of a program or a number, they don't respect you.
Thoughts of inadequacy and
They don't respect you. And so, you know, although I think it's important to try to enforce is sort of the wrong word, I don't want to say it so strongly like enforce, but there has to be an opportunity presented. I get why affirmative action is there, and I get why the Rooney Rule in the NFL is there, because without it, we wouldn't get in the room at all.
Right.
I do get that, but there's also the flip side of that, of forcing somebody to take on somebody.
does it actually change things, right? Or is it just...
It doesn't change things because they look at you as sort of like, I have to take you. So I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to value you.
And
You know
this
what I'm saying?
business is so much about relationships.
It is.
So that you're not building a relationship.
Not at
you know,
all.
in fact, you could be, I'm not gonna say hurting because exposure, but you know what I mean? It's just not,
you walk
it
in
does.
with a detriment.
You walk
in
in,
an assignment.
exactly, and nobody's gonna take the time to build a relationship with you because they feel like they got stuck with you. So when that's over,
Right.
you
You're
know,
over.
they're bringing their boy in or girl and keep moving
You
forward.
out.
If you look back to the black filmmaker renaissance in the 90s that produced that whole generation of directors
Oh,
from, you know, Robert Townsend and Spike and
Yes.
the Hudlins.
The Hudlins.
They
Yeah.
financed those movies
Wayans.
themselves.
Yeah.
They got in, you know.
Spike
what-
was maxing out multiple credit cards.
Exactly,
Yes, he
all of them.
was.
Robert
Yes,
Townsend,
Robert did it too.
same, you know,
Yep.
Mario
Yep.
Van Peebles.
Mario Van
they
Peebles, that's
all,
right.
You know, so
Oh my
th-
goodness.
it's not.
He did Posse when they said you can't do a black period piece of
Yeah.
Western. What?
And we're in a climate today where, you know, the studio movies and the indie film business is more alive than ever. Look at this, we were just talking about Birth of a Nation,
Yes,
that
we
set a
were.
record sale
Yes.
at Sundance.
Yes, it did.
He raised that money himself, and so he was the writer, producer,
Right.
director,
Director,
star.
star.
And you know, look, we have digital.
Yes.
You can
Yeah,
put
man.
your movie
Yes.
online,
Yes,
and
you
even
can.
though, and that's a calling card. I mean, Issa Rae
Yes.
started her series online, no money, and now her show was picked, you know, being produced
Yes,
by
by
HBO.
HBO.
So it's a combination of being resourceful, being determined, and
good.
figuring out how to get it done.
Yes. What Spike did, what Robert Townsend did, what the Wayans did, what they did was give African Americans, young black people, jobs and access in order to watch what a camera operator does, what a grip is, what lighting is, what a DP is, and gave them titles that they then could get into the union. And now we have, the people that we have now are because of
Because of those
them,
entry
people,
points.
yeah.
because of those people.
It's true.
Yes.
Yep.
We shot Zoe Ever After in Atlanta, and the superintendent of schools is a friend of mine, and she asked if she could bring some of her students down. So, you know, of course, she brought maybe 10 high school students down who were interested in film. It was, they spent like 3 hours. The questions were so great. I brought people over to talk. It was, and at the end, I literally started crying because they were like, "This has changed my life,"
Yes.
and because they don't get to meet.
No,
No.
the
And
opportunity
And it
is-
was and it was such a easy thing
Yes.
to, and the crew was thrilled because they got
to share.
to share.
Right.
And it's like we need to do more. We take it for
Yes.
granted. I mean, those are the things we can do to really help build behind the camera.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're going to inspire them. You're going to light the fire in them, and that is going to then.
And they can see you. They can look
see,
at you and say,
right.
"Okay, if you can do
If
it,
you
I can do it."
Yes.
Because that's what I did. I read Essence and Ebony, and I saw her and Andrea Nelson Miggs, and you know what I mean? I read and I did my research, and I looked and I'm like, oh, there's a Reuben Cannon and a Robbie Reed. And so if they exist, I can exist.
Let's say we do start taking more positive steps. So we get to a place where we can all do what we want, and we can all, like you said, be artists. We can all create. What are your dream projects? What hasn't come across your desk that you want?
I've got biopic dream projects in my head that I'm looking forward to creating or being a part of that creation process. I was in Sundance this weekend and I missed the Tony Braxton, but I was a part of Aaliyah, I was a part of Gabby Douglas, and I was like, okay, whose shoulders do they stand on? Because there were people that came before all of them. So let's start telling some stories, some real ones. Let's get it together. I want to follow that Halle Berry model and get that Dorothy Dandridge out there.
Yeah.
Let's pull out some of those stories that seem to be obscure. That Ben Carson situation. That I love that. I love that kind of stuff. So I'm into telling the stories of those who came before us because we stand on their shoulders.
Yeah.
Me, I have 2 dream projects. I'm going out with one now, which is the Flip Wilson story. I have, I'm with his son Kevin, we're all pitching that right now. I mean, you gotta understand, he was the first black superstar. He owned his own show. And and he came on right in the middle of American strife. You come in post-civil rights, post-Vietnam, people trying to figure out how we're gonna get along, and then here you got this black man bringing comedy. And the writers on this show was Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Lorne Michaels. Lorne Michaels
Yes.
on the
Legend.
show.
Yes.
Lorne Michaels on the
Yes.
show. And when that went down, he
Yes.
went and did Saturday Night Live.
Wow.
And here's a guy that had 2 Emmys. I think he was second behind All in the Family in the ratings. And you look at where all the comedy came from. Like if you look at Martin and the Wayans and Tyler Perry and all that, they owe a lot to.
I mean, Lorne alone,
Flip
look at all
Wilson.
those,
To Flip Wilson. The other one is I want to tell the real story of Harriet Tubman.
Ooh.
How she was a gangster.
Yes.
She was a gangster. And, everyone likes to see her as this old sweet matron lady hovering people through the tunnel. She carried a 12-gauge shotgun and a Colt 45.
Yes, she did.
And she was dead serious. You turning back, you ain't going back.
Right.
And just telling that real story of who she is, and not just the soft, sort of
Palatable.
palatable
Yes.
sort of story. That there was real, like, I'm so happy that, I gotta say Birth of a Nation, like to know that that brother got that film done. I mean, God bless Nate. I hope it does. I hope it's just extremely successful and won every goddamn award, because, I've always, and this speaks to my own fear. I've always thought about doing that as a movie, but I always go, nobody's gonna make that movie. Nobody's gonna do that movie. And so that self-doubt creeped in. And here's a brother that didn't let the self-doubt creep in, went through his own resources and got it done. And that should be a lesson to all of us, including the next generation of people. Don't let your own self-doubt and insecurity keep you from doing what you need to do. And so those are my two dream projects, if I ever got a chance to. I'm pitching, I'm making it happen.
Honestly, I was thinking, I've been doing this a long time. I've done most of my things I'm really proud of, and I know they have been impactful. I don't have a dream project anymore. I think it's more just continue to do things that I'm excited about and that make a contribution and that, make money. I mean, it's like that nexus of the passion and the dollars is, and that's a sweet spot that, it's hard to find. So that's where I am.
Some conflict that's taking place right now, which is a news item, is the controversy over the Oscars, and some blacks in Hollywood calling for others to boycott or not be involved with the Oscars this year.
And who does that help? Who does that hurt? I mean, if the Oscars are going on,
Regardless.
Oh, yes.
regardless.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when I heard that people were saying, well, Chris Rock shouldn't host, I was like, what?
Right.
Like, this is one of the biggest jobs in town. He is going to kill it. You know he's going to get up there and be vocal about the issues and have a greater reach than anybody
spotlight
person to be up
He's the
there.
best person to
In a
be
way
in
that's
that
digestible and,
position.
he'll
Spotlight.
with humor.
Funny, with humor, funny, but
Chris
he is
Rock.
the right person.
I get it if you
So-
said Whoopi. But Chris Rock
Well,
is the
Whoopi
best.
too.
I'm just
Whoopi
saying,
was-
but Chris Rock is probably the best person in this particular time to deal with this particular issue. This is what he does for a living. This is what he lives to do. I know this for a fact. He lives to do this kind of stuff.
He said he was going to rewrite his monologue.
Oh, he's already
I'm
done it.
sure he
Good for him, of course.
So it's like, who when people calling for him to step down, like, what are you thinking? Who does that? Who does that hurt? Who does that help? Makes no sense. That's stupid.
It's dumb. I agree.
I'm glad we're all on the same page.
I personally don't care about the Oscars, quite honestly. I don't like NWA or whoever didn't get nominated.
No,
it
they were
doesn't-
nominated.
I mean, but you know, well.
Oh, no.
I gotta count. Oh,
There was a nomination.
don't get me started on that.
Oh, yes.
But
they just don't look like the film.
well, no, you
At
know,
all.
At all. you
But
know,
they were nominated.
They were nominated.
Like, you know,
That was almost like, I feel like that's a shot, a jab. I feel like
Help them.
I feel
Help
like a
them
jab.
with that.
You know?
Help them. It is a
I
jab.
feel like this is
It
kind
is
of
a jab.
an FU. But
I'm confused.
But I will say this: it doesn't devalue the movie.
Right?
The movies are still great.
Listen,
yeah.
Star Wars
I don't want
didn't
no
get
validation.
No, nothing.
I mean, I understand the frustration, you know, but it starts way
Yeah,
back
it
when.
starts way back.
Yeah.
So
You know, I mean, what do you say? Leonardo DiCaprio doesn't deserve his nomination.
Right.
He got
He deserves
beat up
it.
by a bear
He
and
deserves
did,
it.
right, you know. I mean,
That
you
man
know,
got his ass whooped.
Matt Damon spent an hour plus on screen talking to himself
Right.
Yeah.
and made it entertaining.
Absolutely.
So it's like Viola said it when she got her Emmy. If you don't have the opportunities, if you
Right.
don't have the roles, you're not going to get the awards.
Right.
Just that simple.
Period. Michael B. Jordan was fantastic.
Yeah.
But there are 5 slots.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is subjective, and some roles are Oscar bait. I mean,
Right.
again, you didn't Revenant, you in the dirt, in the mud, in the
Right.
bear, in the hole. You don't get Oscar nomination.
He did that.
So why does the focus come to the Oscars then, as opposed to the steps before, where it comes to actually opportunities for actors and actresses, and opportunities for people in your roles to, you know?
My point exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a problem.
Yes.
I think it's raising consciousness. And if anything comes out of this once a year focus on the situation, it's that there is some consciousness raising. We just need to make sure it's happening on a regular basis. When the directors lists go around the studios, people need to know if they
Right.
see a list and there are no Black directors,
Right.
there are no female directors, there are no Black writers, there are no female writers. It's like, then there's a problem.
The fact that we're only talking about 4 possible movies to be nominated is the problem.
Right,
That's the
exactly.
problem.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
That is the problem. And
Or talking about the membership and how you become a member of the Academy. Problem.
But I also feel too, look, we have the Image Awards, we have those things. To me, we have to support those
Yes.
things too.
Yes.
Like I look, the Oscars are the Oscars are the Oscars. They are what they are. That system wasn't set up really for
But it was all
everyone.
created.
It was all,
Right.
you know.
It was all
so
created.
look, if you get nominated, that's fantastic, great for you. I don't personally look for validation
Right.
from the white structure.
But do you feel like
I don't need it.
But do you feel like award shows are important? In my mind, when I look at award shows, I think for like a person of my age, I'll look back 10 years ago to see what was popping in those years, to see what people thought was valuable sometimes. And this way I could say, oh, people liked Titanic in this year, you know, or people liked 12 Years a Slave in this year. And for people, once you get far removed from this time, they're going to look back in the books and try to use that as a barometer of what was important.
Well, yes, but it's also, look, from an economic and career standpoint, the Oscars are important. You know, Chiwetel,
Yep.
you know, the nomination,
Right.
his career moved
Yes.
to another level.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
Denzel has 2 Oscars under his belt. That's why he's in the Pantheon.
yeah.
So I'm not, you know, and your picture, it wins Best Picture, your box office is going to go up, and it is helpful for everybody involved. So I'm not going, I understand what you're saying, is that your self-worth is not defined by the nomination,
Yeah.
but they do help, you know. So
It can
but,
help.
But,
It
but
can't
we
help.
need,
Well, Kevin Hart ain't
Cuba-
gonna get an Oscar, and he's working.
yeah,
You know
but
what I
that's
mean?
no. I'm saying it's not.
So-
Right.
It depends. First of all, it depends on what path you're
Right.
on
That's
too.
true.
Right.
That's true.
Your
That's
You
true.
know, like
Right.
what your track
Tracking,
is.
yes.
I mean,
That's true.
but it's just you said there need to be more than 5 movies
Yeah.
It
made.
does.
What are we choosing from?
But we
Exactly.
also
4
need,
movies,
we,
and that's
we
it.
need more creators. And that's the real question, that's the real issue that we're talking about. We need more behind the scenes. We need more creators. We need more stories that we're creating, and we need to find those stories and fall in love with those stories and fall in love with ourselves so that we can create them.
How do we get
So
more
it's
opportunities
not
for creators?
always about, you know, it's maybe it's plan B time, Will. Maybe it's time to use your celebrity and your status to make projects for others and then take a smaller role or some, you know, do a little Brad Pittish activity, and put yourself in there in a smaller role to give it that, to
little
lift
bump.
it up. But it's time to start creating those vehicles for more than just yourself, but for everyone.
So it's that we need more, there's, it seems like a large focus is on the end result, after the actors have, the production's out and it's in our television sets and on our movie screens to watch. But it seems like a large part of it is the availability or the amount of opportunities for Blacks specifically to work in the roles that you all have.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Agreed.
The focusing on the diversity issue at the time of the Oscars is too late.
Yes.
That's the end.
is.
Of,
It is the
end.
Mm-hmm.
It's the end. It's about, where it's a, and again, in film it's interesting because the film business has changed so dramatically. The studios, by and large, are only making big tentpole franchise movies. I mean, they're sitting,
That's true.
Universal, just Straight Outta Compton, and
Yes.
Ride Along. They're making a specific type of Black movie, but by and large, so then it becomes really a casting, writing,
Yes.
directing. Like Ryan Coogler just got big Marvel movie, and then the smaller movies are a lot independently financed by and large. So that's a whole other issue
is
about can you raise the money?
yeah.
But things, we need to be
Yes.
more involved
Yes.
every step of the way.
Yes.
And again, to me, at the end of the day, what speaks loudly is the realization that diversity is good business. It's not just the right thing to
Right.
do.
Right.
You could have the next empire.
Right.
You could have the next,
Yes.
birth of a nation.
Yep.
You could. That is what is going to speak the loudest.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. The discussion is much bigger than we can fit into a small discussion like this, but I encourage you all to go out there and dig and dig and dig for more information. And as you can see here, follow your passions and don't let anyone tell you no. We will continue this discussion. We hope that you all do too. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you all for this.
Thank you.
That's great.